Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to dive into today's content. I'm getting my screen pulled up here so that you can take a look and see what we're going to cover today. Before we dive into it, I want to give some logistics and some information about where you can find some additional resources, some support information, and the information as to where the recording of this webinar will be located later next week. So you can check out our Lender Resource Center, zillow.com/lender-resources. And again, our recording will be available on the website there next week. For those of you who are brand new to our webinars and who are not familiar with who I am, my name is Mary Waits, and I'm in charge of our content here at Zillow Group Mortgages. And what that means is I'm pretty much in charge of these webinars and finding resources and making sure we have those available for you on our Resource Center and for our business consultant team and anyone else you might come into contact with here at Zillow Group Mortgages. Along with me, I have Jared, and he's from our mortgage support team. So I'll let Jared introduce himself. Welcome.
Hi, thanks, Mary. My name is Jared Stoffer. I'm located here in Lincoln, Nebraska on our mortgage support team. And our day-to-day is helping out you guys, lenders, with your profiles, any questions you guys might have, and also doing review moderation and to make sure that all the reviews that are going on our site have been moderated by our team.
Awesome. And you guys work really hard because I talked to your team lead the other day and she was telling me how many emails you get per month, and it just blows my mind. I don't think I've ever gotten that many emails ever in my life.
Yeah, we try to stay on top of it. And we're a pretty small team of 5 here too. So we're small but mighty, as we like to say.
Mighty is very true. You guys are awesome. You guys are really quick to answer questions, and I send over something at the end of the day thinking, oh, they won't get to it until tomorrow, but it comes back pretty quickly, which is amazing.
Glad to hear it.
Well, today we're going to talk about verified contacts. This is something that's kind of new to Zillow, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into that. And then we're also going to touch on some best practices for following up with Zillow contacts, because they kind of your follow-up kind of ties into your reviews and what people will say about you, and those verified contacts are tied to your reviews. So, and then also we'll kind of touch on how to best utilize your Zillow Group profile if you have a team. So without further ado, we're going to start up with talking about what Zillow verified contacts are. So Jared, I'll let you take it away.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right. So you might have seen it recently on your profile where it says verified contact or verified reviews. And so what that is Beth, when she goes onto Zillow, she can get in contact with you as a lender through multiple ways through Zillow. One of those is long form, then another one co-marketing, and lastly, your profile contact on your profile page. So if she goes to your profile page, puts in contact lender, that's how you're getting that contact. And so all of these are considered verified contacts, and because they've given us their information and we've sent that over to you as a lender. So what happens now with that contact? Obviously, we're asking you then to reach out to them and go through all the steps that you guys do with them. So then about 45 days later, Zillow sends that borrower to Beth an email asking them how their experience was working with you. And in that email, all there is a star rating. We're just asking them to rate you by a star. As soon as they choose that star rating, we automatically direct them to a web browser and to fill out the rest of the survey form. And this survey is the exact same review form that any of your clients are filling out when you send your request review link or anything like that. It's all the same thing, but Zillow is sending them this survey because they've gone through our contact notification system. So once they fill out the rest of that review, it goes through our moderation team just like every other review, and is moderated just like every other client. And once it is approved by our moderation team, it's posted to your profile, and then that review is public on your profile, and that's when you start getting those numbers up on your profile. The next thing we show you here is going to be where it says Zillow verified contacts. So on your profile page, You can be looking through your reviews, and underneath the username and the location, you're going to see that Zillow verified contact. If you hover over it, that's where it's kind of giving you a little bit more information on what that exactly is. And so it's just a way for us to show other consumers that are coming to your profile page that these have been verified through Zillow because we've received their actual contact information. It's not a review that has come from your own request. Once it's also posted, if you go to the lender directory page, you'll also, and search for a specific lender or for yourself, you'll also see there underneath the overall star rating, how many verified reviews they have. And so we keep a tally there as well on top of how many recent reviews and overall your total reviews as well. So that's kind of what that means. There is no way to have a review that's come in like post dated to be a verified contact, if that makes sense. So in other words, if you had a contact go through your request tool and submit a review, it's not going to say verified contact, and there's no way for us to make that a verified contact because they did not receive the survey from us, and that's not how they submitted the review.
When did this go live? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
Oh man, I'm not exactly sure on the exact date, but it was late last year, 2017.
Okay. I remember it was pretty recent, but also that it wasn't, I don't think there was a big announcement about it. So how many questions do you get on this?
We
come into the queue?
Received too many. Most of them are just excited to see that they have some verified contacts. We definitely had some questions on what that exactly is. And so that's why we wanted to bring it up in this webinar today to hopefully shed some more light on that. But no, we haven't had too many questions about it. So it hasn't been too much of a big change for us.
Well, I really like this feature because I think it gives you an idea of that any contact you receive via paid advertising or from just somebody who found your profile, you know, they're real people. These are people who ask to get a follow-up, and it kind of pushes you to follow up with them because we're reaching back out to them to ask them for a review, you know, a month and a half later. So, and if you haven't heard back from them, you can try reaching back out to them again. If it's just an email, or if you have their phone number, try calling them, because sometimes what happens is people are just not available, or they see their email. If they're anything like me, I read my email when I'm on the bus commuting to work, but then all of a sudden my stop's coming up and I'm not going to reply to it, and I forget about it because it's not top of mind for me. But then if I get a follow-up email later, or someone's calling me later, then I remember, oh, that's right, I forgot about this. Maybe it's a good time right now, maybe it's not. So we have a couple of questions coming in. I will note that, again, there will be a recording of this webinar available next week on our Resource Center. I'll have the link up at the end of the webinar so we can keep where we are at in our deck here. Kim saying, to summarize, verified means that the review came from the email with the survey that Zillow sends out.
Correct. And the only people who are receiving those surveys are the clients that went through either long form, co-marketing, or the contact notification on your profile page.
So Marnie has a little bit longer question. She said that her agent was on a coaching call recently and then called her suggesting that past clients give a rating on Zillow. What I'm hearing is that this is not possible. They must be a Zillow referral to provide feedback. Is that correct? Anybody can leave you a review as long as they have an account on Zillow. So I'll let you kind of go into that a little bit more, Jared.
Yeah. So like Mary said, anyone can leave you a review, and that's why we give you the request a review tool. So if you go into your Lender Hub and go to the reviews page from your Lender Hub, you'll see your request link there, and you can send that out to any of your past clients in email. And when they click that link, it'll take them directly to write a review for you. And that's great. I mean, that's how you're going to get a lot of your reviews. That's how you're going to, you know, boost your recency reviews, your overall score, all that kind of stuff. And that's what we want to see. Those aren't going to be considered verified contacts though, or reviews. And so because they've gone through that link instead of the survey that Zillow might send them if they were a contact through one of those other forms.
Hopefully that answers your question. We're also happy to answer any other questions on that if you want to pop them into that Q&A section in that little floating toolbar. We'll kind of go into those best practices as I mentioned in the beginning of what we're going to cover. We've done a lot of webinars on best practices where we dive into great detail on how to follow up with long-form contacts specifically. So you can check those out. They're available on our resource center. But overall, there are 3 best practices that I like to take when it comes to online contacts. And the first one is you might have heard this speed to lead or speed to contact. And basically that's as soon as you get that contact, you're following up right away. For a lot of people, it probably seems pretty standard, pretty common sense oriented, but I can't tell you how many lenders I've worked with who just don't prioritize the contacts that come through. The reason why it's so important to reach out right away is because that person is still online. They're still thinking about real estate. They're still thinking about mortgages. They have those questions there, and they're at the tip of that iceberg of curiosity. If you catch them later when they're busy or they're just not thinking about it anymore, it's really hard to get them centered back onto that topic or to get them to switch focus and be ready to have that conversation or to even get their attention at all. If, as I said before with the email, if I'm on the bus or I'm not at a place where I can sit down and think about it, I'm going to forget about it. And they might have to try to reach out to me a couple of times before they actually get my attention. I don't mean to be that way, it's just how it is. I live a busy life. I'm sure everybody can relate. You know, our cell phones make everything, they put everything at our fingertips, and that means our attention's divided between multiple facets on our phone, between everything else going on. So, and then the same goes with calling. If I'm in the middle of something, I'm not going to answer. I don't know who's calling me, so unless I'm thinking about real estate, thinking that this person might just be calling me or it just makes sense, then I might answer, but not later. So it's really important to call immediately. Jorge, you're asking about the success rate on long-form contacts. It does vary. With long-form contacts specifically, they do take a longer time to convert, and the reason why is because most of them are purchase contacts. Purchase contacts can take 6 months, a year. We have some long-form clients who've been on for a couple of years now and are still seeing some of their very first contacts converting. It depends on your market and so on. But on average, I think we're seeing about a 5 to 10% conversion rate across the board. But again, it just depends on your markets and all of these things. And if you're following up and you're pretty much doing all the right things to follow up. If you have more questions on long form specifically, we're happy to take that offline and chat with you on the phone. If I don't know if you're currently on long form or if you're interested, but we can get you in touch with the right people as well. Anita is asking about a verified referral. It's only made if a client saw your profile on Zillow or if you pay for the service. Great question. We do not charge you to have reviews or to have a profile. So essentially anyone could leave you a review and you don't have to pay for that.
So I didn't quite get the question. Can you repeat it?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I closed it out and I'm going back to it. So Anita asks, it's all right. A verified referral is only made if a client saw your profile on Zillow or if you pay for the service.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we want to make sure is clear is, although a lot of the verified reviews and contacts are coming through long form and co-marketing, it's not just through a paid service, right? I mean, anyone can go through your profile and contact you. That's why it's so important to have a presence on Zillow and an updated profile, even if you aren't advertising, because they can go to your profile, see your reviews, and choose to contact you. And that's where you're going to get those verified reviews from.
I hope that answers some of your question, Peter, about how to get contacts. It's not specific to having to pay for it. So we just have multiple ways where you can get contacts through Zillow. If you co-market with an agent, if you are part of our long form platform, or if you just randomly had somebody find you through the lender directory and they saw you had reviews and they wanted to reach out to you. Sometimes people will reach out to you if someone else, like a friend or family member, recommended your services, and they did a Google search and they found your profile and they reached out to you through your profile. We'll see that happen quite a bit. And that's actually how I found my lender. Is I had a recommendation come from one of my coworkers with someone she used to work with, and I just reached out to him via his Zillow profile because it made sense to me. Of course, I'm kind of biased, but I'm sure a lot of people do it that way just because it's easy and they trust Zillow. So how are you alerted that a verified contact has closed? Are there alerts for that?
When you say closed, do you mean like the review was published? Because if so, it's like every other review. Since it goes through our standard moderation process, you're going to get an alert when you received a new review. It's 45 days after the initial contact. So even if you haven't closed a loan with that person that you're working with, 45 days later, we're going to send them that survey. So there's no notification whether they've closed on a house or not. But as soon as they get that email, they can submit a review for you, even though it's not closed at that time.
Yeah, we give them the option when they fill out the review questionnaire about where they were at in that process. So we don't require that they have closed a loan with you. They can essentially walk into your office and chat with you, and they'd be able to leave you a review based on that interaction. To kind of go backwards a little bit, back to the best practices. I said that there are 3, and I went over the first one, which is that speed to contact. The second one is what you're doing in the first 2 weeks after you receive that contact. We have a couple of touch points that we like to use or we coach on here. It's texting, email, and calling. Some people will even do Facebook and social media if they're able to find profiles for these people and they have a way to reach out that isn't uncomfortable for them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we don't really coach a lot on the social media side, but it is something that people do. But you're reaching out at least 10 times within those first 2 weeks. I know it sounds like a crazy number, but again, if you know somebody was really interested in real estate, you have their phone number and you have their email address, you're doing everything you can to get back in touch with them, because the longer you wait to get in touch with them, the harder it is to get their attention at all. So if you are reaching out within those first 2 weeks and let's say in that first week or so after you get that contact, you call immediately within, let's say, first 5 minutes of receiving the contact, and you get to a voicemail. You leave a voicemail, send a follow-up text saying, hey, just called, my name is so-and-so, I got your information from Zillow, would love to chat more to see where I can help you. Likelihood of them responding is pretty high depending on the person, if you text them. Some people are not open to texting, so and the way you can gauge that is to see how they respond to you. Most people will respond to you in the way that they want to be reached out to. So if they call you, you're more likely to get someone who wants to talk on the phone. If they text you back, they're probably more comfortable with texting at first. Same with email. Email is always important because every time you go to a website and you sign up on a website, you're probably expecting some sort of welcome email. So if you don't even have an email that goes out to someone, then you're losing an opportunity because they might think, hey, somehow my information didn't go through. Maybe I have to do this again. Or maybe they just aren't in business anymore. I don't know. What do? I don't know who I'm supposed to reach out to, so I guess I have to do this again. So having those 3 points of contact is really important. And then over the 2 week period of having that contact, trying each method to get in touch with them. You can try different things, but I always recommend being personable. Don't say, I want to help you with your loan application, because that's scary. You start talking about social security numbers and W-2s and all that scary stuff, people think, okay, wait a minute, I just had a question. I don't really want to go down this road yet. You're scaring me with all this personal information. Maybe start with, hey, how's it going? Hope we're having a great day. I'm out with my kids right now. Can I give you a call back in a little while? And it gives them something to relate to. They realize that you're a human being. You're not a robot. You're not some person sitting on your computer all day waiting for the phone to ring. You have a life too. So most people get that. And then finally, the third step there will be to kind of do this longer term play, having a CRM that has some sort of marketing materials or at least some sort of drip campaigns or email scheduling system so you can keep in touch with them for at least a year. I know that sounds like a crazy amount of time, but it's really important because, as I said, with some of our long form clients, they're still seeing some of their very first contacts from a couple of years ago finally converting. So having a way to stay top of mind is exceptionally important. So we have a couple more questions coming in. Anita asks, how many Zillow reviews do you need to create a strong presence? I've seen in excess of 150 reviews. Great question. Very subjective. What would you say, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, over 100, great, right? The more the merrier. I think what's important is the consistency of your reviews, because the recency of your reviews is what's taken into consideration now on top of your overall score, and everything else that goes along with that. So, I mean, good starting point. Get your first 3, get your first 5. You can go back to past clients when you're, so when you're first starting out, I'm sure you have a lot of people that you can go get a hold of. It's really hard to say, but the more you have, the better. I would just say some of those accounts that you're seeing with 100 reviews, I mean, they might have gotten their 100 and now they've kind of stopped, right? They're like, oh, I have a good presence. I'm not going to continue pushing for more since I'm doing so well already. Well, in our reviews, like our lender directory search and stuff like that, the recency of your reviews is important now. That's why we show that number on there, how in the directory is how many reviews you've had recently. So continuing, even though you don't have maybe the most reviews on there, continually getting more reviews is what's going to be important.
And how do we define that recency? How many months is that?
It's within the last 90 days.
All right, so what is a long form client, Kim asks? Well, long form is an advertising platform that we have at Zillow Group Mortgages. It's a way for borrowers to get connected with a local lender. If you're interested in learning more, I'm happy to get you connected to one of my colleagues and they can go into that in more detail, more specifically if your market's available and things like that. James asked if we will have a CRM available for our lenders like we do for our agents. That's a great question. I don't think we have any plans at this time to create an in-house CRM, but we do work with a lot of different CRM companies. One of them is called Big Purple Dot, for example, and they offer a special promotion for some of our customers. So if that's something you're interested in, we're happy to get you in touch with them. But at this time, we don't have plans to build an in-house one. All right. So Mark asks, how does an agent add me as preferred lender? Is there a cost to be featured on their page? I'll let you take that, Jared.
So, are you talking about co-marketing, right? So they're going to send you an invitation to co-market with them to the email address associated to your lender profile. And then there is a monthly charge along with that. And then our co-marketing team is the ones who help with that and can answer all those types of questions for you.
And if you're wanting to get set up on co-marketing and you have the agent in mind, then you can work with that agent's rep to get set up because it has to go through the agent's account specifically. We don't really do a lot with the co-marketing side here. We can answer some basic questions, but we call them our pals, Premier Agent. What does it stand for? I always forget, but we call them our pals team. They're the co-marketing team who kind of handles all the questions that come in that we don't really have a lot of insight on. So they're kind of going back to reviews really quick. And, having recency of reviews is important, but there's another way, especially if you have a team of lenders, and let's say you're a branch manager or you're a team lead and you have an LOA or somebody who kind of works with you, they're licensed and they have their own profile. We're wanting to talk about how you can utilize Zillow Group in the best way for your team.
Yeah, great. So I wanted to bring this up in this webinar because we've had some issues lately where there's been some team profiles that we have to break up. So for lender profiles, we don't allow there to be a team profile. And so what that means is you can't have more than one lender trying to be associated to the same profile. And that's because our lender profiles are associated to the NMLS number of that lender. So that's their personal NMLS number. And we only allow one NMLS number on a profile. So that means you can't have more than one person, right? And so as soon as you try to run that as a team profile, you start to try to get reviews that are mentioning more than one person. It gets really confusing for Beth or someone else trying to come and read your reviews, because they're like, wait, I'm on Cindy's profile, but they're all talking about Edward. Like, what's going on here? And so it can be kind of tough for them. So that's why we don't allow it. But we want to still make this easy on you guys. And so, like Mary said, if you're a lender that has an MLS number as well, please go make your own profile page. And each of you on your team can have your own profile pages. And then when you both work with a client, that client can submit an individual review for each of you for that one transaction. So you're not missing out on anything. You're both going to get your reviews. And it's only going to benefit you in the long run, because, let's say life changes and you change companies or the team breaks up. Then you still have your reviews associated to your MLS number, even if you move companies. And so that's what's really important there, because it's really hard to know if there is a team profile, like who owns what reviews if multiple people are listed in the review as well. So hopefully once you get your own profile created, you can start building up reviews that way by having your clients submit for each of you. If you have team members that do not have NMLS numbers and you still want them mentioned in reviews, the only place they can be mentioned in a review by their first and last name is on the company profile page only. So if your client submits a review for the company page, it cannot be associated to a lender profile page if they want to mention other people in the review as well. So those are kind of the big points. But I mean, we hopefully give you guys enough avenues to still be able to work as teams, because we know how important that is. But then in the end, benefit all of you by having your own reviews.
Hopefully that's helpful for everyone. I know I've gotten multiple questions about team reviews myself, and it's kind of a tricky subject to talk about, especially when we look at how profiles are based on NMLS IDs. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm launching a poll right now. I know that we've probably had a couple more questions that have come in that we are out of time to be able to answer live, but we do want to make sure we can help you. So feel free to answer the poll that's on your screen. And then I'm also, you should see here on your screen, the additional information about where you can find this recording next week, along with our resource center. And if you have further questions and want to reach out, if you have questions about webinars, our webinar schedule, or topics, you can email us at mortgagewebinars@zillowgroup.com, or you can also email our support team at mortgagesupport@zillowgroup.com, and someone from the support team will reach out to you, Jared or another team member, and they're happy to help. So we hope that this was helpful for you. We thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have an awesome day, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mary.
everyone.